Hey guys, welcome aboard to the Last Dispensation. You've been here, both of you have been here before. I love you guys, and I wanted to start off. I was thinking about today how the Lord doesn't necessarily use conventional means. Are you listening, Palmer?
I am. I just had to turn my phone off. Sorry.
I said the Lord he doesn't necessarily use conventional means to gather or scatter Israel, does he? In other words, we see what's going on in Central America right now. And I'm not saying it's necessarily ethical or unethical or whatever, but think about the Assyrians and when they in the 8th century BC, how the Assyrians basically exiled the 10 tribes and how they captured the 10 tribes. But that was a way that the Lord was going to scatter Israel, right? So I'm thinking about what's going on there. I know that they can hear the gospel in their own lands, in their own native lands, but what's your take on this? What do you guys think about what I just said about the Lord not using conventional means sometimes? It might even be unethical sometimes, right? And it's not necessarily him doing it, but it works in his favor. Do you disagree?
Yeah, you go ahead, Kyle. I want to hear what Kyle has to say on this.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I think when you come down to it, right now, we only have a very, very small lens of how we can view things, right? And if we fast forward in about 1 million years and look backward, I highly doubt we're really going to be caring about what kind of local laws or ordinances were infringed upon to make sure the ultimate goal and the ultimate work could actually get done. You know, if I'm in Guatemala and for whatever reason I feel compelled to go to the United States, and that's the only way that I'm going to be able to get the gospel, and then every single one of my family members from my history can also start receiving the ordinances of the gospel, I'll do it. I don't know if it's necessarily, like you said, amoral or moral, and hopefully I could do it the most correct path possible, but I know plenty of wonderful people. I mean, where I served, we were talking about your mission earlier, Mr. Palmer. We had, I was in Iowa, and I can't tell you how many people came over, and, you know, they were wonderful people. They did not sometimes come here legally. Sometimes they did not have a card, but they finally found the gospel. And then when they went back home, they were not only able to take monetary assets and whatnot home, but also they took copies of the Book of Mormon in Spanish or whatever local tongue that they had.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the interesting thing, what you said was so true. Borders and all that stuff, it's not going to matter in the not even in 1 million years, or it's not going to matter in 100 years. There's a great pop song that came out a while back, and it's called "From a Distance." And you get up in the air a little bit, and you don't see any borders, you don't see anything. Now, look, I'm not saying I'm not for borders and control, because we're living in the here and now.
Right.
But just like you said, Troy, the Lord's going to find a way for people to have the opportunity to hear the gospel one way or another. And he'll use any means. So you were talking about scattered Israel back in when the Assyrians, 720, I think it is 720 BC, something like that. So it's interesting that most of us are from the tribe of Ephraim that are members of the church. Not all, but most. The tribe of Ephraim was like the bad tribe. They were the ones that were kind of making a pact with the devil, with Assyria, to do all this. So it's almost like it's our job now as Ephraimites to fix the damage,
make up for what we did.
For what we did in the past. Exactly.
Right.
So everything always comes full circle. You can see it over and over again in history. It always comes full circle. So although I think laws should be, adhered to and whatnot, I totally agree with Kyle. If I'm an individual living in a certain place that's denying me of privileges, or not even privileges, just basic rights, I'm going to find a way to bless me and my family with a better life. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we're living it right now on that southern border.
Well, I think it's interesting how,
unfortunately, there's so many people taking advantage of that as well.
True.
That have evil purposes. They're not looking for just the good. They're doing bad things too, right?
Right. Yeah. I think it's interesting how the brethren, or the leadership of the church, they're not interested in the politics of what's going on. I mean, we do respect the laws of the land. We know that the Constitution is endowed with, we have inalienable rights, and we understand that there's law and order. At the same time, it's interesting how the brethren are more focused on people's salvation, and they want us to be focused on people's salvation. We're not of the world. We've made covenants to our Heavenly Father that we're going to gather Israel, that we covenanted that we would share the gospel and that we would bring others to Christ. So what you both said was spot on. What are we going to do? Are we going to hyper focus on what's wrong with that whole situation, or are we going to invite that spirit of the bigger picture? Like you said, Palmer, it's not going to matter 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now whether that was a law in the book or whatever. You know what I'm saying? What's going to matter is how many people.
I got a quick story on that, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Is you are a mission president in the Salt Lake area? Is that right, Brother Palmer?
Yeah, Salt Lake City West.
Okay. Yeah, I remember talking to someone who served in the Ukrainian mission, and their borders went across different countries. So I'd be interested in what you would suggest, because I remember, so this young elder, he had to get across a border, right? But they were, at that time, there was conflict. There was a lot of war happening at the moment. And the only way for them to reach some of their appointments is they had to pay some rubles or some money under the table to get across the border, right?
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna meet your appointments? You're gonna go preach the gospel, or you're gonna be like, well, darn it, I can't pay under the table. Oh gosh, Jolly Williker, I'm in Disneyland. I can't do that. Or you just get the job done.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would have given him a high five. I would have said, don't tell me what you're doing. Just get it done. I don't want to know how you did it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to answer to your parents or somebody downtown.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I remember something like that. I never have had one of those callings where you get that opportunity to talk to people, and then you are the one who gets to decide if they, get to go to the temple or get to serve in their own callings or move forward. The only time was during my mission. I was able to interview people before their baptism.
Yep.
And it was the first time I ever been in a room alone with a guy, and I was in charge of not answering the questions, but now asking the questions. And that was weird, and it hasn't happened since, thankfully. But I remember talking to a guy who was here illegally in the United States. And I remember asking that question, are you making sure that you're following all the local laws and customs? And he said yes. And I just said, okay, then went along. And then I talked to, our mission president, he said yes, but I know that was not right. That he was wrong. He was lying through his teeth. In fact, this guy, I think, had 3 teeth. He's lying through his 3 teeth. He's lying to me. What do you do? And my wonderful president Driscoll, he just said, well, he answered yes. That's his answer. What are you gonna do?
So all we do is ask.
Yeah.
We just ask questions. All we do is invite. All we do. That's so good. I love it. Where did you serve again?
Des Moines, Iowa. That's actually where I met my wife. Yeah.
Awesome. But Troy, just to add an element though, for the here and now, when people come here for whatever reason, and even though good things can happen, they can receive the gospel. The reality is, if you're not in a country legally, it's hard to get it's hard to build the kingdom,
Right?
Because you're looking over your shoulder. You got 3 jobs that don't pay very well. You're working your guts out. Now, we never asked anything when it came to teaching people and seeing them enter the waters of baptism in Salt Lake. We never, you don't say, well, are you here legally? That's ridiculous. We don't do that. And they're baptized. We even had missionaries serving that were here, that were sent to our mission that weren't here, legally.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter to us. We're just here to spread the gospel and do the best we can. But the reality is it is sometimes difficult for those people to realize the full blessings. Just like if I went to a country and didn't do all the necessary things, I'd be looking over my shoulder the whole time.
Yeah.
Well,
that's unfortunately one of the painful aspects of it.
Well, you can only progress so far, right? I mean, they're going to ask you if you're going to be a bishop or a branch president or a stake president. Do you have your finances squared away? Do you have your are you legally doing things right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they ask them in third world countries, or is there such thing as second world country? I don't know, but
America pretty soon.
Yeah, but
yeah, we're it.
What you're saying is they can only, if I understand you right, Palmer, what you're saying is they can only progress so far, right? If they don't have their house squared away.
Kind of true.
Because the leaders have to have their life. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, but we don't, it's like we were saying earlier, we don't know what the future is. And maybe this temporary situation that they're in, where they can't progress, is just a little bump in the road. But they're here. They've received the saving ordinances. They're on the covenant path, and then boom, something happens, and then they can blossom. I really don't know the future of that. Somebody does, but not me. And so it's just like what you said. The brethren are interested in the here and now as far as gathering scattered Israel, and not too much focus on the political environment, throughout the world. They're respectful, obviously,